Facebook. Give me a sec. Okay, so well, thanks for joining us tonight. Clarence with Compass, and Sonia, I'd like to introduce yourself.
Yes, hi, I'm Sonia Huang. I'm the loan agent with the loan story. Happy New Year, Clarence.
Happy New Year.
And thank you, everyone.
So by the way, we do this every single month. We do this before 2 days will probably be the last time we're gonna do the first of the month, and we'll be doing every second Thursday of next month, starting in February. So anyway, so we'll be so this is a chance to have you leave a question for us to answer, but we also got questions we got from our clients and from in the last month or so. So anyway, so to start things off, this is like the beginning of the year. Sonia, can you give a little recap of what happened in the mortgage market last year?
Sure, I'd love to. So we have just started the year 2023, but everybody on their top of mind is what happened in 2022, right? So we all know that Fed had increased rate quite a bit last year, and they have increased rate 7 times last year. So what that means is Fed is trying to control the inflation so that they have to adjust the rate to lower the inflation. And they did ease the inflation quite a bit, but their target rate for inflation is 2%. It's still away from reality. Right now, our inflation rate is about 7%. So that's still quite a bit. So what that means is going into 2023, the Fed has made a statement that they are going to continue to increase the rate to fight the inflation. But some officials signal that they may just increase rate from currently 4.5% to 5 or 5.5% in this year. And the progress will be, they will increase in the first quarter, maybe pause a little bit on the second quarter and see how things goes. If things goes well, maybe the rate can be reduced lower in the third or fourth quarter. So it will be interesting to see how Fed manage this inflation crisis, and we will continue to talk about this in our webinar. So that being said, I would like to ask you, Clarence, what was the outlook for this year? What is the outlook for this year, and what happened last year?
Okay, so starting on what happened last year, it's been starting out pretty strong in the beginning of the year, and home values for a single family home in Santa Clara County, year over year, actually is pretty strong. It went up 7% from last year. So, but the market did peak in April of last year peaking at $1,950,000 for a single family home in Santa Clara County, and has slowly declined since April to a decline of 25%. Keep in mind, December is usually a weak month to begin with because a lot of buyers are off the fence, less homes on the market. And a lot of times that the homes that are selling at the time are just homes that have been sitting on the market for 2 or 3 months. So there's a natural decline that time of year, but still home values year over year still increased by 7%. And I think this kind of shows the strength of the Silicon Valley housing market. Even with a decline, there was so much gain in the last 2.5 years that home values are still relatively high since COVID started. So, and I think that you asked about what my outlook's kind of looking for in the coming year. I think in the market we're going to have to see, focus upon what's available. Focus on what's happening on the economy. So a lot of the economy, demographic changes, and the lack of supply. So I'm seeing next year, probably this year, probably if those factors kind of play in, if the economy is still a little weak, inventory is still relatively low, because there's a lot of home buyers who bought the last couple of years with have gained so much equity and that have very low interest rates, or who refi in the last year or so, who don't want to move on to a more expensive mortgage product where the monthly payments increase. And there's no financial incentive to sell, that I think the inventory levels are going to still pretty low in this market. So I think I'm expecting very low inventories, but I think buyer demand is going to weaken a bit because our local economy, because we are seeing a number of tech companies, a lot of the job producers are kind of slowing down their hiring, or they are laying people off. But a lot of the companies who have laid off in the last 8 months are still have employment levels that are higher than their pre-COVID levels. So that still kind of still feels like there's still a little strength in the economy here in Silicon Valley. So I'm kind of anticipating home values to probably could be bumping up and down the remainder throughout the year. There'll be some moments where home values are going to spike because of the seasonality of certain parts of the year. I'm also anticipating that those are going to decline a bit because during July, August, buyer demand kind of drops off a bit, and also November and December. So we're probably going to see going back to some normal seasonality, home values increasing a bit from the end of 2022, but still compared to last year, you're probably going to be seeing some flattening of the market.
I see. Thanks for the explanation of the market.
Yeah. Anyway, we're talking about there's still buyers out there. Is there any low down payment programs or first-time home buyer programs or down payment assistance programs that buyers should be looking into if you're going into the market in the coming year?
Yeah, definitely. So as you mentioned, December usually is a slow month, and now coming into a new year, many buyers are probably coming back from vacation and start to look into buying. So there are actually lots of great down payment assistance programs in California. As our previous webinar have talked about, their down payment assistance goes to 3.5%. Maybe 5%, so that you can combine the first loan with the down payment assistance. You can essentially borrow 100% loan, which means you don't have to bring any down payment. And for some borrowers, there are programs to even offer closing cost assistance. So besides no down payment, you don't even need to bring closing costs. And for this program before, it's really designed to help low to moderate income borrowers. But I have seen some down payment assistance program increase their income limit. And I have seen some program offer people, borrowers who have as high as 300,000 annual income to qualify for those programs. So I thought for those high income borrowers, they may not need down payment assistance, but we all know that the market has not been good for stocks or cryptocurrencies. So many people may have their money tied into stocks and they don't want to sell for down payment. So for those people that they may want to consider use down payment assistance program so they don't have to sell their stocks currently, using that as a tool to get into houses. And when the market's better, they can always refinance to pay off those loans and using the stocks as leverage at the time. So I think this is a great news and program for many people who are not thinking about that. And of course, it's not fit for anybody. The rate might be a little bit higher because you are borrowing 100% loan. So for details, we can, I will be happy to talk to you in different scenarios. So since you asked me about this down payment assistance programs, I actually have some buyers asking me, would seller have concerns to receive offers from buyers who use down payment assistance program? So would you like to tell our audience?
Okay, yeah, I think we gotta be honest with the down payment assistance program. First off, I think they're great programs. I think more buyers should be taking advantage of it. it's the context of how that buyer is making that offer. If they're making that offer with the down payment assistance program, and you're making an offer that you're competing with other buyers who are not taking advantage of the down payment assistance program, maybe are have the down payment for, or using a or having the funds gifted from family, or they sellers are usually going to overlook those typical buyers, everything being equal. The reason why the sellers may not consider that type of offer in a competing offer situation is that there's moving parts. So sellers don't like to be in a situation where the buyer has a lot of moving parts. When I say moving parts, I'm talking about you have like a typical real estate transaction. You have maybe one lender, you're working with inspections, you're trying to negotiate maybe repairs, if there's any repairs, if that's in your contract. Sellers don't like when they still have these contingencies, things are left open. So, and having a down payment assistance program where there's another party involved in the transaction outside of the lender can scare a potential seller away from that particular offer. So now we're seeing more and more homes sitting on the market for a lot longer. I think there's a lot more sellers out there who will be willing to entertain some number of different ways to get their home sold in the market, especially if that's going to either net them more money or get a faster close, or a number of different things that are to the seller's advantage of what they would like to do with the home, because they either need to sell because of tax reasons, financial reasons, or they need to sell because they're moving out of the area. So depending what the seller's motivations are, it may be not to their advantage to take an offer with down payment assistance, especially when there are offers competing against, or it may be their only chance to get the offer, to get this closed, especially if an agent on the other side who's working with the seller knows and understands the down payment assistance program, because when you add another third party into the transaction, that really kind of scares sellers and doesn't reassure the seller that this can close in a timely manner, and that may cause more headaches. Because keep in mind, when a seller accepts an offer, that's 30 to 45 days, maybe 60 days, where the home is not on the open market to consider another offer. The seller is contractually obligated to work with that particular buyer. So that's the reason why you're kind of hesitant about maybe accepting an offer with the down payment assistance program. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's right. So, but I think this is still a great tool for buyers. So maybe buyer enter the contract should be aware of it's not as competitive. So we should just need to set the buyer's expectation.
Yeah, but it's also it's the relationship between the listing agent and the buyer's agent. If the buyer's agent is able to communicate to the listing agent, now what's happening in the transaction, how not as complicated this can be for the seller to accept this, and also let the buyer agent know that they can accept this without writing concessions or any of the other things that would get them netting less money on the home, but may take slightly a little longer time, but they can net more. So that's the buyer's agent job, to be able to communicate to the listing agent, so the listing agent can educate the seller on, like, this is a reasonable offer that they can actually work with in this marketplace.
Yeah, that's right. I think real estate has so many moving parts, like the terms you use. So it's best that our audience work with professionals like Clarence and I, so we can help to guide you to face those challenges and have a smooth transactions. So I think I have mostly my questions answered for today. Do you have anything else that you would like to add on?
No, I don't see any other questions from the audience. I mean, so we'll be, so this is recorded and we'll be, sharing this in our newsletters. And if you'd like to join us next month, it'll be the second Thursday in February, which is second Thursday of every month. And the next one is February, what is that? February, what day is that?
That will be on the 9th.
So February 9th. So join us on
Yes.
February 9th at 6 p.m. And we'll be able to answer your questions. And also we'll be collecting questions from our clients and our people we know who may have questions. So we'll be able to answer them and be able to share them. So,
Yes. So see you and Happy New Year.
yeah. Happy year.
Bye.
Bye.